Good afternoon, sports fan. Welcome into this edition of the Green Room. We're going to have a special NBA edition where we're talking NBA playoffs, some Heat and Bulls, and then a little bit of Mavericks and Thunder going into Game 5 tonight. And hey, I hate talking to myself a lot, so we're bringing in an NBA analyst all the way from down in San Antonio. We're bringing in the one, the only, Derek Lewis to talk a little bit of NBA basketball with me. How you doing this afternoon, Derek?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. All right. Well, let's kick this thing off. Let's talk a little bit about the Bulls and the Heat last night. Now, tight game down to the end, and then the Heat get the ball back with about 29 seconds left. Call a timeout. Eric Spoelstra gets up there, and I'm thinking, all right, Eric Spoelstra is going to finally draw up something, and instead he runs an ISO to LeBron James, just says, "Here, LeBron, here's the ball." And I just felt like it was Cleveland all over again. What'd you think of the last play selection there for Miami in regulation?
Well, it's no surprise Eric Spoelstra is pretty creative when it comes to play calling, and it's pretty much been LeBron ISO the whole year. So it didn't shock me that he went with that again. At the same time, though, you gotta think you can come up with something a little more inventive, something with a little more screening, perhaps even a pick and roll, dare I say. But a lot of teams have been straying away from the pick and roll. I know Dallas is pretty much the only team left who's really running the pick and roll consistently. So you gotta question the play call there. But what are you gonna do? They still won.
Yeah, man, and I would, you generally think put the ball in Dwayne Wade's hand, but he struggled a lot last night. Went 5 of 16 from the field, took over in overtime. But getting to that overtime, Derrick Rose, because LeBron ended up driving to the basket, had that offensive foul. So Chicago gets the ball back with about 6 to 8 seconds left, and they have an opportunity to draw something up. And I'm thinking, all right, Tom Thibodeau in the Celtics, he's a Celtics assistant for a long time, comes up, has an opportunity to draw something up, and they do the same thing that Miami did. No pick and roll, no off-ball movement. Just hand the ball to Derrick Rose. He gets a bad step-back jump shot that comes up way short at the end of regulation. So what's Tom Thibodeau thinking in that scenario?
Oh, he's probably thinking the same thing Eric Spoelstra was thinking. I have my number one option, my MVP. I'm going to put the ball in his hands and let him make a play one-on-one. But again, you would think, they would run a pick and roll probably with Corver because he's a deadlock shooter. You make him make a decision, and hopefully you get something good out of that. They ran that play around the 2-minute mark, and Luol Deng got a wide open jump shot. He didn't catch it, but it was wide open. You want that look at the end of the game, I would think. At least if Derrick Rose is going to get that play called for him, you would like him to at least be moving north to south instead of side to side like he was moving. So when he does make that step back, he has a little more separation because LeBron has to respect the drive. LeBron played it pretty well, and so it was pretty well contested shots.
Yeah,
definitely both teams had some pretty unimaginative play calling, not indicative of championship coaching.
Yeah, well, and getting back to Derrick Rose, you mentioned that he is the MVP, youngest MVP at 22. He's young enough that I can remember back when he was in college back at Memphis, and last night's game reminded me of the 2008 NCAA championship game. Memphis is playing Kansas, and Derrick Rose has 5 opportunities down the stretch at the free throw line and only goes 1 of 5. That lets Mario Chalmers hit a 3-pointer, tie the game up, and Kansas goes on to win that game in overtime. Well, last night, he had an opportunity at the free throw line to hit both shots, and it would have put the Bulls up 86 to 85. Now I'm sitting here looking at Derrick Rose's stats for the season. He's an 86% free throw shooter. In the playoffs this season, he's shooting 82.8%. Not great, but you figure the MVP should be able to hit his free throws down the stretch. Do you have anything to say about what you think it might be with Derrick Rose having issues down the stretch with these free throws and sealing the deal on the line?
Well, yeah, like you said, normally a pretty good free throw shooter, the 80% mark is the pretty average mark. Means you make most of your free throws, so you would think he would cash in. But like you said, he's had that 12 pass on the line. I have seen him make some pretty important free throws before, so I wouldn't necessarily go to maybe saying he lacks the clutch gene, but you're starting to see a little bit how the criticism starts with a superstar. If you don't come through in big situations, you got to start to get that label, much like LeBron has had to overcome and has overcame this year. And so we'll see. I mean, we'll see if this becomes a trend with him missing big shots or missing big free throws, because so far it hasn't been too much of a problem throughout his career until this series. So we'll just have to see and let history unfold as it will.
You mentioned LeBron James there. Generally, he's shooting 78% for the postseason this year, but he went 13 of 13 from the free throw line last night. So LeBron showing why he is a two-time MVP. All right, Derek, last thing on this Bulls-Heat series. They're going back to Chicago tomorrow night. Who do you think is going to win this series? Or much rather, who do you think will win their game, Game 5 for them, and then who do you think takes the series?
Well, I think Chicago. I like Chicago. They feel a little embarrassed probably that they gave up that game. They're going home. That crowd's going to be raucous. Derrick Rose might be able to figure stuff out, might be able to get some help from the bench. As we know, benches play better at home. So I'm thinking they take Game 5 or Game 5, right?
Yeah, I think it's Game 5.
I think they take Game 5 pretty easily, and then not easily. I don't want to say easily. I think it's a pretty hard-fought game, much like yesterday. But the Bulls pulled out in the end. But going back to Game 6, I think the Heat will definitely close the door on them in Game 6. So I would say the Heat 6 at this point. All
right, man. Well, hey, we're up here in Dallas right now. I know that you're down there in San Antonio. You have a rooting interest in the opposite direction, but I want to talk a little bit of Mavs Thunder here. We all remember the Thunder blew that 15-point lead with about 5 minutes left. Kevin Durant doing the Aaron Rodgers belt celebration after he made it a 15-point game, and then Dallas, as Dirk Nowitzki scored 12 of their last 17 points as they come back and go on to win that game. So how do the Thunder respond tonight going back to Dallas after getting beat at home twice? Do you think this team has any fight left in them to really put up anything tonight in Dallas?
Well, I do think they'll put up a little bit of a fight. I do think that Dallas won't just come out and stomp on them early. We'll see a round in the game that we'll have to turn off early. I think Kevin Durant and the Thunder might just throw the first punch even and get up big. But what we've seen from this Dallas team all year really is that it's probably not going to matter. They're going to have that championship resolve that they've been showing us here of late. And Dirk's going to have that championship resolve. They're going to get it done in the fourth.
Yeah,
so I think that although Oklahoma City comes out firing, probably gets out to maybe a big lead, possibly even, that Dallas will come storming back and close the door tonight.
All right. You mentioned Dirk. He's going for, he's having quite a series. He went for 48 in Game 1, 40 in Game 4 the other night. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, Kevin Durant, just heartbroken after that series. Both of us are from Texas. We hate to see Kevin Durant like that. But what kind of a game do you think he'll have after he said that he, quote, let the whole city down by letting that game get away from them? What kind of a response do you think that he'll have tonight?
Well, you know, Kevin Durant is a big player, big name player. He has that big game that he shows. I mean, he shows that often that he has a tendency to bounce back from hard losses, hard defeats. We saw that in the Memphis series when he was awful in Game 6 and then had one of the better Game 7 performances you'll ever see. So I expect him to come out fine tonight. What I would like to see more of from him is some of that, what Dirk has going on this series, some of that fourth quarter closing mentality, because we saw him pass up a lot of not open shots, but we saw him pass up a lot of shots late in Game 4 that maybe if he makes a couple of those, we're talking about a 2-2 series and not a 3-1 series. So if that's the next progression for Kevin Durant, but I fully expect him to show up big for at least 3 quarters.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that Kevin Durant is struggling a lot from the field, needs to get more down low. In this series, though, he's really been struggling, especially from the three-point line, only 2 of 7. The other night, he's just been shooting horrendously from the three-point line, needs to get back to that mentality of posting up, finding a spot down low. Really quick, what kind of a game do you think that Russell Westbrook will have tonight? We have to talk about Kevin Durant. We have to talk about the other superstar in OKC. What do you see Russell Westbrook doing for the Thunder tonight?
Russell's so hard to predict lately. He's a lot of different looks. He's taking that next step to All-Star. Teams are playing him a little differently than he had to see last year. Even early in the year, there's been a lot more people at him. They're making his reads a lot harder. And, he's not that pure point guard. He's not that Chris Paul type point guard. So he has a tendency to turn the ball over, and so I expect him to probably continue that, unfortunately, for OKC. Probably continue to turn the ball over. But I do think he might, I don't know, it's hard. He's had his moments where he looks unstoppable going to the rim, but more likely than not, I expect Tyson Chandler and the other Dallas defenders to keep Russell in check like they've been doing. Maybe use a little bit of that 2-3 zone that they like to mess Russell up with. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll have a big game. He'll probably score a lot of points. He'll probably come off a lot of shots, though.
Yeah.
So,
He took 22 shots in the last game, had 8 assists, but he had 6 turnovers. His plus-minus was 7, and had 19 points in that game versus the Dallas Mavericks. All right, Derek, we'll get you out of here on this one. Dallas, Oklahoma City tonight. Who do you got?
Yeah, well, I think I made it pretty clear earlier. I'm going to go with Dallas. It's just been showing so much championship heart and resiliency that I'm not used to seeing out of Dallas. It's been pretty much the difference. Dirk's taken it to another level. In previous years, we didn't see that from Dirk, where he would have a horrible 1 through 3 quarters and then come back and get a huge playoff victory behind his scoring. So Dirk's just taking it up to another level. No one really can guard him, and he's going to the basket at will on teams and shooting that jump shot that we know he likes to take. So I really think at home, despite OKC's probably best effort, Dallas will just show that heart and poise and move on to the finals tonight.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for getting your insight. Quick note on that comeback, that there was a stat that I heard. Over the last 10 years, there have been 4,790 games where you have had a team down 15 with 5 minutes left. Of those 4,970 teams, only one has come back, and that was the Dallas Mavericks. So a 1 in 5,000 shot to win Game 4. See what they can do tonight in Game 5. Derek, great having you on. Hope to get your insight after the Mavs hopefully wrap up their series. A little bit of Bulls Heat recap, and on into the NBA Finals. Thanks for joining us today, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that's all that we got for the Green Room. A long, extended edition today. But, hey, we'll have your nightly recap. But hope this is a little bit of good NBA insight for all you fans out there. Until then, I'm Garrett Greene speaking for Derek Lewis over there. Have a good evening, and hook 'em horns.